Hello and welcome to another episode of Best Bets. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, joined as always by Newsday's NFL pick columnist Joe Manniello. Joe, how are you?
Doing good, Matt. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Unfortunately, tough week for both of us, Joe. Hopefully everyone faded our picks last week because we both went 0-4-1, which is pretty gross.
Awful.
Yeah, not great. So, look, we're going to try to get back in the win column for you this week. We will start with the locals, as we always do. The Washington Commanders come to town to take on the New York Jets. The Jets are slight favorites, 3-point favorites here. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, two teams that I hate picking all year, but got most of their games wrong. So, as I write in my column this week, at least I can't go 0-2 with them this week. I'm at worst 0-1. But I'm going to take the Jets. I mean, I don't like to take the Jets, but they're home. And I feel like it's a game for the defense to. I've said it. I keep repeating myself, but I feel like it's a game for the defense to get a win here. We don't even know who's starting for the Jets. Wilson or Simeon, but I just don't trust the Commanders. I mean, their season's done, 4-10. They have a new coaching staff next year. I just don't know what the motivation level is on Christmas Eve day, coming to New Jersey to face the Jets team. So I think it's a boring game, a bad game. I'm not going to see much on red zone, but I'll lay the points with the Jets. I don't feel good about it, but I'd rather take them at home than take the Commanders on the road.
All right, I'm taking a pick. I don't feel great about it either, but I'm going with the Commanders. So we're going to go head-to-head on this one, Commanders +3. I don't think we see Zach Wilson this week, and I think that's a big reason for why I'm going with the Commanders. I don't think Trevor Siemian has looked very good. He's turned the ball over multiple times each time we've seen him. Has lost a ton of fumbles. So I think this is going to be an ugly defensive game, which may end up leading into a Jets win, and if they win, so be it. But I don't see them winning by more than 3 anyway, so you might be in push territory, best case scenario. I think I just have very little faith in this Jets offense. After they showed you a little bit of something, put up 30 points and a half against Houston, they come out and lay an absolute goose egg against the Miami Dolphins, who were banged up, and your season was still alive. You say alive in air quotes, with the chance for Aaron Rodgers to return this week. They get blown out. I'm just not. I'm avoiding the Jets right now. I'm probably picking against the Jets the rest of the way unless something crazy happens. But I'm gonna go with the Commanders +3. Ugly game. I'll go 16-10. Commanders win this one. All right.
I'll go like 9-6 or something like that. 10-6.
Gross. Setting back football 40 years. Gotta love it. Yeah. Let's get to the other local, the New York Giants. They are taking on the struggling Philadelphia Eagles. Big number in this one. Eagles are favored by 11.5 points. What do you feel about this game?
I actually like the Eagles a lot in this game. I feel like the Giants are catching them at the worst time. If they played them 2 weeks ago, maybe they would have had a chance, but I just don't see Eagles lost 3 in a row. The last one was a heartbreaker in Seattle Monday night. And I had a chance to go back into first place. I'm still tied for first with the Cowboys, but I had a chance to, probably almost clinch the division with that win. But because they play the Giants again in the season finale, but I just think it's a bad spot for Tommy DeVito and the Giants. The offensive line, they've allowed 76 sacks already, which is the third most in NFL history. And I think it's a really bad matchup. 11 is a big number, but remember last year I talked myself into taking the Giants in the playoffs, and they got crushed. And they haven't won there in almost a decade. Haven't won in Philadelphia, I think 10 or 11 straight games. So it's just a bad setup here. And Christmas Day, I think it's just going to be a blowout. I see it like 38-17, not even that close.
Oof. That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Giants +11.5. Maybe I'm the sucker, but I think they keep it relatively close. For the most part, the Eagles, when they've won a lot of tight games this year, even you look at their 2 most recent wins, granted against much better teams in Buffalo and Kansas City, it's tight games, but the Commanders gave them some trouble early in the year with some tight ones. The Patriots gave them some trouble back in week 1, and I just think the number is too big for me. Most often than not, these divisional games are a lot closer than people tend to realize, with even when there's a big disparity like this. But who knows? I could end up getting burned and it'd be a blowout. That happened to me last year in the playoffs. I was with you taking the Giants, but in this spot, the Eagles haven't played that well recently. They're a little bit banged up. I think they still win the game, obviously, but by like a touchdown. I'm going to say it's a 27-20 game. The Eagles win, but Giants cover the big number. Let's hop into game of the week. I'm excited for this one. It should be a good one on Monday Night Football. The 49ers and the Ravens. 49ers are favored by 5.5 points. What's the play here, Joe?
Yeah, great game. Super Bowl preview, it feels like. The last couple of weeks I went against them. A few weeks ago I said I'm just going to take the 49ers every week the rest of the way, no matter the spread. I can, pick up some wins here, try to get back to 500. But the last 2 weeks I got too cute. I picked against them with spreads were 12, 13 points, and they covered, not easily, but they still covered the number. They've won a weird season. They're 5-0, lost 3, 5-3, had the bye, and they crushed Jacksonville. They've won 6 straight since that bye, all by at least 12 points. So I'm taking the Niners here. I mean, this is their biggest test yet. Baltimore's defense is great, and John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson's probably the best coach, quarterback in the league. Well, after Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but right there. So it's going to be a tough test. But the 49ers just look like a complete, on a mission right now. Steamrolling teams, and I just don't see how they're going to be stopped. And 5.5, it's a tricky number. Those never always weird numbers. So if they win by 3, whatever. But I just think the Niners right now, you can't bet against them. And the Ravens, as great as they've been, 11-3, they were one of my over picks for the year. So I got that one right. But they haven't dominated teams. A couple weeks ago they probably should have lost at home against the Rams, and then they went on a fluky punt return in overtime. So they're not a dominant team. They're a sound team all around. Great team at every level, offense, defense, special teams. Traditional John Harbaugh kind of team. But I just feel like the 49ers, no one's stopping them right now. I would be shocked, famous last words, if they don't win the Super Bowl. I just don't see who's beating them this year. So I'll take the Niners.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one as well. 49ers minus 5.5. I do think you talk about Baltimore. To me, they are absolutely a team that's a contender to come out of the AFC, but I don't know how you go against the 49ers who are just rolling. And it seems like they do this every year. They get off to this little bit of a slow start. They hang around 500, and then you blink and they rattle off 10 games or something like that to close their season. I think this is the same thing that they're going to end up doing. Baltimore's a tough opponent. As you mentioned, their defense is really good. They're extremely well coached. Lamar Jackson's been great this year. But I think, this is a touchdown to a 10-point game. I think it ends up being for the 49ers. They're back at home this week. I think they're going to, even going up against a tough defense, they're going to put up probably 30 points. They always hang around 30 every single week. They're just that good on offense. And I think it's a tough matchup for Baltimore. Great team. It wouldn't surprise me if they come out of the AFC in a month or so, but I like the 49ers here. I don't know how you can go against them. So I'm going to ride with you as well, 49ers minus 5.5. How about a best bet?
Yeah, so there's a couple games I like this week. 2 of them are on Saturday, Bengals, and then I like the Bills to crush the Chargers. I also like the Cowboys to bounce back because they haven't lost the Cowboys haven't lost back-to-back games in over 2 years. But just giving you some other options. But I'm going to go with the Bengals here with a minus 1.5 at Pittsburgh. The Bengals, to me, they have the mojo. They're like the Browns, just like the Browns. There's 2 teams in Ohio. Got a little mojo going on here. Jake Browning, 3 straight wins. His first start was a 16-10 loss at home against the Steelers in Week 12. And as I write my column, this is the Jake Browning revenge story. Last week he beat the Vikings. They cut him early in his career. And the Vikings should have won that game. But the Bengals, give them credit for coming back. And huge fourth quarter. They scored 21 in the fourth quarter, and they won in overtime. But Browning, they got something going there. And I feel like, he has an advantage now. He already saw this defense in Week 12, which is rare for a backup, to see a defense for the first, it's usually, late in the season, you're not going to see a defense already. But he got to play against them in Week 12. They had their chances in the game, but they lost. It was like one of those classic Pittsburgh games. I just don't see how Pittsburgh scores enough points. Since that game, the Bengals are 3-0. Steelers are 0-3 with, I think, 10, 18, and 13 points. Losses against Arizona, New England, Indianapolis. They're done. I think our boy Mike Tomlin's 500 streak is going to end.
Yep.
They're on the third-string quarterback, Mason Rudolph. But I don't see. I like the setup here for the Bengals. It's never easy to win on the road or to sweep a division rival twice, but they got something going here with Jake Browning, and I think they keep it going and win by 23-16 kind of game, something like that.
Yeah, there you go. We're going to be on the same page again with our best bets this week. I'm also going to go with the Bengals. I like some of the other teams you mentioned. The Cowboys was one that I considered, but this feels like a really good spot for the Bengals. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've lost 3 games in a row. Over their last 5 games, they've scored 18 points or less. They are really, really struggling right now on offense. And Cincinnati, as you said, they have the mojo a little bit. Everyone thought their season was going to be done once they lost to once they ended up losing their quarterback Joe Burrow. But they've looked pretty solid. Browning's come out and they've put up some points on offense here. They've rattled off 3 wins in a row, a couple overtime ones, but they're scoring points. 34 points against Jacksonville, 34 against Indy, 27 against Minnesota. I think it's going to be like a 24-17 game. I think they end up winning by a touchdown. These division rivalry games are usually on the close side. Last time it was a 16-10 game in favor of Pittsburgh, but with how Pittsburgh's playing, I don't think they're sweeping them. The spread only being 1.5 points, I think, is enticing, and I think the Bengals win this one by a touchdown. So I like the Bengals a lot this week. Yeah. How about an underdog?
Yeah, there's one game. I talked about them before just now. Minnesota at home. I think they're getting 3 points against the Lions.
Yes,
I'm a big Lions fan this year. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. They're going to win the division. They still have a shot at the 1 seed, but they're not going to get it. I just feel like this is a good spot for Minnesota at home. They've been a resilient team all year. Kirk Cousins goes down. Joshua Dobbs' story. He's out. They're on their 4th quarterback, Nick Mullins. Yeah, but you saw last week. He understands the playbook. He's been there. So they gave that game away. They were 17-3. I was working and I looked at it as that's over. And I heard some guys in the newsroom like, "Oh, with the T. Higgins catch stuff." And then I started watching and looking at it, and I just feel like it's a good spot for them. The Lions, as much as I like them, last week they were great at home. I just don't know. Even though this is a dome game, it's still a road game. Minnesota's a tough place to play. Great atmosphere, great home crowd. They lost at Chicago 2 weeks ago, 28-13. It's like the Lions, as great as they've been, I just don't know if they're like as dominant or they're not like the Niners where they're just going to win no matter what the setup is. So I feel like this is a desperation spot. Minnesota 7-7 needs to win to stay into the wild card race and they'll give everything they got. I think Kevin O'Connell's done a great job as the coach. Could be in conversation with Coach of the Year, but he needs to win this game obviously. So I think they'll win the game outright. Close game. Could even go overtime. I don't know, 23-20, 26-23, something like that.
Okay, there you go. I like that one a lot. The one that I am going to go with is the Patriots plus 6.5 against the Broncos. I don't know why I'm going back to the Patriots. Well, I guess I do. I think the number's too big, 6.5 points, with how the Patriots defense has played for most of the year. Outside of last week, they gave up 27 to Kansas City, but Russell Wilson, he's been better this year. He's not Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Before that, it was 18 points, 6, 10, 10, and 20. So if their defense holds the offense of Denver to 20 or less points, which I think that's where they're going to hang. I mean, they put up 17 against the Lions 2 weeks prior to that. They put up 17 against Houston. They put up 24 against the Chargers, who have a brutal defense. But I don't think they are as good as what they were on that win streak when they rattled off 5 straight wins. They've lost 2 out of their last 3. So I think this game is going to be closer than some people think. Low scoring, ugly, gross, 17-13 kind of game. I don't think the Patriots are going to put up a ton of points, although they've scored a little bit more recently with 21 against Pittsburgh and 17 against Kansas City. But 6.5, I just think the number is too big. I think we get a tight game in Denver this week.
Yeah, I think that's it.
There we go. Love that. So we will run through these real quick. Take a look at our picks of the week. For the Jets and Commanders, I'm on the Commanders +3. Joe is taking the Jets -3. Giants and Eagles, I'm taking the Giants with the points, 11.5. Joe is taking the Eagles -11.5. Our game of the week, 49ers and Ravens, both on the 49ers -5.5. We share a best bet as well. Bengals -1.5 over the Steelers. Underdogs, you just heard them. Patriots +6.5 for me. And Joe is taking the Vikings +3. Joe, I appreciate you joining me as always. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and yours.
Merry Christmas. Thanks. Good job.